Discussion Season 2, Episode 11, Part 6? 5. Part 5. Not 6, but 5. Getting ahead of myself. Anyway, we are still kind of muddling through. I think we kind of turned into Act 3.
No, I think we still have to...
We still have to work out, like, the
one
final...
more scene. We need, like, at least one more scene. Because
basically
all we have right now is...
Yeah.
Is it just Nerdnell and Finway?
No.
We have the
fight scene.
Combat scene.
We have the fight scene.
Yeah.
I feel like the scene between Nerdnell and Finway kind of has to come after that because they're the two that aren't there.
Right.
So
it's a separate scene.
Yeah.
And then Ilmare arriving at the gate is happening.
Oh yeah, that's the final scene.
Could we do the Celebrimbor with Feanor scene? Maybe show a slightly less
aggressive side.
Yeah, I guess this is a good time for that.
Could that be a setup potentially?
Well, I think they should get interrupted, and then he goes to the gate to see what's up.
Okay, so
they could be like in the courtyard doing something, and then there's a noise at the gate, and then we get transition to the scene where he tells them.
They're at the forge. They have to be at the forge specifically for Celebrimbor.
Because it's Celebrimbor. Well, how old is this kid then? Like, you don't invite 4-year-olds to play in your forge.
No, he's not 4. He's got to be like at least old enough to be an apprentice to a blacksmith, essentially.
Right. Well,
So,
I would think like
they don't have to be that old. Like
10 years old is old enough
yeah.
to pull a bellows.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like young teen, maybe.
No, I would prefer him to still kind of be a child, but like 10 years old is fine.
I remember the first time that I was at a reenactment group, and they had a forge set up, and I was kind of brought up to pump the bellows. That's the word, pump. I was brought up to pump the bellows. I was probably about 8 or 9, and I was doing it quite easily. It wasn't in any way a physical hardship. A 10-year-old, I feel like, could do that part of the job while Feanor is explaining.
Mm-hmm.
Who is he explaining? I guess he's explaining to
Celebrimbor,
like, sort of faceless. Well, not just Celebrimbor. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. One time with Grandpa is pretty, like.
Okay, so
like, I don't think that he's aware of his grandkids really. Like, he's just too wrapped up in his own crap. I think he's doing like smithcraft for his assembled, smiths who are gonna outfit his army. Like, he's not outfitting his army by himself, right? So Celebrimbor,
but this is his only grandchild.
Well, that's why he gets to be that's why he gets to be the apprentice. That's why he gets to be up there with Grandpa, right?
Okay. Here's the thing. Like, it wouldn't be terrible to show a moment of like to show a good moment where we can have some sympathy for Feanor before he turns around and, like, if Nerdnell comes up and sees this. She doesn't say anything, but she sees this right before Ilmare shows up. There could be like this softening moment of, oh, you know what? Maybe Finway's right. Maybe this is all going to be okay. And then it's...
Yeah.
Because we should constantly be pulling the rug out from under that.
I feel like his headspace is so focused on his own bullcrap at this point. I gotta stop saying curse words on TV.
The question is, though, is Feanor a good teacher? Is he good at explaining things? Because
I think he's good at explaining things. I think he's good at verbalizing like his thought processes.
Well,
so if we have a young kid who's really interested in something that's Feanor's big deal, like
this is the guy who's going to carry on well, I don't know. Carry on the legacy.
No,
is
like, don't say carry on the legacy, because that's
right.
not how Feanor thinks.
That's not exactly how it works. But this is the vessel.
So here's how I see this then. This has a practical bent. Like, he's doing this because he's trying to train his blacksmiths to be better, because of course they're never good enough. But it's not like he's completely ignoring his grandson the whole time. He's an apprentice. He's an actual apprentice. He's not just a gopher. He's and so he can take time away he can basically ignore everyone else there to explain the fundamentals of blacksmithing. While showing them, exactly what he's looking for with whatever it is that he's making, right?
Well, here's the only thing that I have on this. I think that Feanor would see in Celebrimbor, even at that young age,
talent.
That he sees that this kid could actually meet his very, very
demanding standards.
So basically, this is how I would want it to go. He asks, he'll say something. He asks a leading question for Celebrimbor to and then he kind of elaborates on that for, basically, like, see, even my 10-year-old grandson,
I was going to say,
knows this stuff. How come you guys can't get this, right?
Right. It might even be more interesting if he doesn't ask the question of Celebrimbor, but asks it of the other smiths who are there, and there's a moment of silence, and then Celebrimbor speaks up.
No, I think
no, because then Celebrimbor becomes Jesus in the temple, and it's perfect.
Yeah, but that's what I don't want. Like,
it's Celebrimbor. He would do that. He's a child genius at this stuff.
All right, fine. I can give him a sympathetic moment with his grandson, but he's still Feanor. Like, I want him to kind of be rubbing his subordinates' noses.
He totally does that. He totally does that. What I'm saying is he's not necessarily
right, but I'm saying I want him to orchestrate it, not that out of nowhere Celebrimbor's like, oh, by the way, I'm also a genius, and then he's like, oh, I didn't know you were a genius.
No, I'm not saying he's surprised by it. I'm just saying that he may not necessarily, because if it's a question that he knows that the 10-year-old can answer out of hand, how is it possible that all of these smiths don't know this thing?
It's not that they don't necessarily know that. It's that he's being a dick about it, right? Like, he's never satisfied with the work that they do, of course.
Right.
And so that's why he's giving them, like, he's orchestrated this nonsense where he's, basically testing his apprentice, but at the same time he's giving his blacksmiths a dressing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
And then he can. I mean, this is a little bit of show not tell, but he can go on and on about the fact that his grandson, he can basically aggrandize his line. Like, are the sons and descendants of Feanor the only ones that are worth anything in this world? Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. So
otherwise, I feel like if we put too much emphasis on Celebrimbor without the guiding influence of Feanor, it becomes a scene about Celebrimbor being a genius rather than him, being a schmuck to his men.
Okay.
And I don't want that to
all right.
It's a Feanor scene. We can't have a Feanor scene without Feanor being the centerpiece of the Feanor scene, right? Like, every
yes, I understand that. Yeah. I guess my question is more of are we going to give Feanor any kind of redeeming quality in that scene? If the whole point of it is to soften the audience to think, well, maybe this could all go better. Maybe this guy, right?
I think he's showing lots of favor to his little genius apprentice, right? Like, I think we kind of enjoy the fact that he's, and Celebrimbor should be having a good time too, right? Like, he loves being with Grandpa. He loves working the bellows. He's kind of his just unbridled, naive joy of everything that is happening.
Yeah. Right. That's definitely the bent I want to take with Celebrimbor. I guess my question is, would Feanor appreciate that?
Yeah, I think he would.
could Feanor dismiss the other Smiths and then spend some actual time working? Like we could even have like a short little, like a little tiny montage where we see them working together. And
I don't think it's montage time.
It's
I think
not.
you could dismiss them
Montage is really not the right word. I'm talking a very, very small vignette is probably more of what I'm looking for, and have that be what Nerdanel's witnessing.
I would sooner have the focus of the scene shift, like he goes off to, or he dismisses everybody, like you said, and then maybe Nerdanel has a conversation with some of the Smiths. And then in the background, like, not that she doesn't see it per se, but it's not where her focus is. Like, she's aware of it maybe, and kind of like when he dismisses everybody, he's like, and now if you'll excuse me, I have to train my apprentice, right? And she kind of smiles a little bit at that, but then has something else to do. You know what I mean? So they're training in the background. We're still in the same room, but you know, there's space between us and the and we can look back at it before she leaves the room to go answer the door. Right?
Okay.
I would like her to answer the door, and
Feanor to come up.
Feanor to close it.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that part. I definitely want to have at least a moment where she looks back and she sees what could be, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, she needs to see it. She needs to see
where, like, Feanor smiles for the first time in like forever.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I meant. That whole Feanor in his element thing needs to show that side of him again.
I basically want to see that from afar, though. Like, if we get too into it, like the overwhelming public-facing Feanor needs to be douchebaggery 100% of the time. So if we do get any glimmers of that stuff, we should be removed from it a little bit, I think.
Okay. No, I can definitely. It had never entered my mind that Nerdanel was actually right there with them. I was thinking, because as we've established, this is an outdoor forge.
Right.
She's seeing it from a distance. It's not necessarily.
I think it would just be a little weird if she's kind of like creepy stalker hanging in the doorway watching them. It just doesn't feel right. It feels it basically feels too intimate.
If she walks by, looks in, sees for a moment, and then smiles and then moves on, then it's a less.
Well, if they're in the courtyard and she brings everybody into the house, and then looks back out, that I think would work a little better.
And what we're seeing there, what I really want the idea that we're conveying, that what we're seeing here is basically, if Feanor had no political power,
right,
this is what we probably would have gotten.
Yeah, if he was just a humble smith and not the son of a king.
Right.
Maybe.
Which
I think his character would have still.
It makes a statement kind of about the idea of kingship in a way. Because
but I don't necessarily know if that's appropriate, because most of
Tolkien's work is very pro monarchy. I get that. I'm not making that case, but we know that even so, there is something that you lose when you have a king, when you establish political power over populations.
And I think you could make the point that Feanor was never cut out to be king.
Yeah,
yes.
I think that would
be.
And
Tolkien's world is very much that kingship is something that is kind of handed to you by life and circumstances and God and everything. There's very much divine right of kingship.
Right.
And yes, Feanor is totally the son of the king, and therefore he's in line for the throne. But it's an immortal king.
A king.
So he should never be king. Finwë should be king forever, and Feanor should always just be his son.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's an anti-Tolkien message to show that Feanor would be better not being king.
Right.
Because the death of Finwë is wrong, and we're going to see what it does later.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get so then we get Ilmare arriving at the door. She should seem concerned about a few things. One, the message that she has to deliver, but two, there's a wall here.
Yeah, why is there a wall here?
Right? You know,
like actually, this in particular, I would still like Tyrion to kind of be sort of open and airy, the way our original Valar buildings were. This should be the first place that really is like almost cavernous, like that has roof over like everything. So there's walls on the outside, and in addition to that, this is like a fully enclosed fortress. That I think is probably going to be our biggest sell for the visual difference between all of the buildings that we've had before this point and Formanos, is that this looks like a traditional, like, well, the only thing that it really kind of looks like is probably Autumno or Angband, because those are the only two like really enclosed spaces that we have on the screen so far.
Well, the problem is that if you don't have walls, you can't have towers.
I mean, we can have towers.
I don't necessarily disagree. What might be
basically, so here's my angle for that then. Like, once a building is of a certain size, obviously it has to be. But I mean, you can still have what, even on towers, what you could do with that is have sort of pillars and then like a central, you know.
You can have lots of arches.
Yeah, so
to keep it open.
You could have we should probably still have like, you know, actual walled sections, but like pieces of it are exposed where there's, you know, sort of like
I just got the hugest sense of vertigo thinking about walking out onto an open terrace with no railing on the Tower of Inway. Ooh.
Maybe not quite that extreme, but if you think about the design for Rivendell and Peter Jackson's films, there's a lot of outdoor spaces.
The outdoor spaces kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So if that's Elvish, I think that fits. And Tyrion can be fairly open concept like that, where there's lots of indoor outdoor space. Also, Tyrion doesn't necessarily need a wall around the city.
Yes, I agree. Like, although it would be kind of interesting if in Finwë and Feanor's absence, if Fingolfin has also erected a wall around Tyrion.
That that would.
I could go either way. On that. I think it works both ways.
Yeah, that would be.
I would really love the gates of Tyrion to be like a haughty gate. Like
That's what I'm saying. Is that the Tyrion that in their absence, Fingolfin, who is kind of also thinking along these lines, even though he's not as aggressive with it as Feanor is.
Has built a wall around the city.
Also erects a wall around the city, especially since we know that Melkor is on the loose. Fingolfin knows that Melkor is on the loose.
Yeah. Right, so he might be doing it for defense in that sense. So okay, so from that point of view, walls.
And that would be particularly awesome because if it's like basically there are gates to Tyrion, but there is no wall around Tyrion. So they have like a cool sort of freestanding gateway. It doesn't have to be an arch per se, but you know, something that is some structure that has a top and two sides.
And when the gates open, it has this mighty creak, and then the music goes dun 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 dun.
No, I was thinking more in the sense of like it's just an archway basically, and then they add a wall and actual doors to it.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's kind of it looks really different when we see that.
Right, because before it would just be the road coming from Valmar to the city passes through
under something,
arch gate thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we know that Valmar even has gates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily have walls.
Go on.
But it doesn't necessarily have a wall around the city.
Yep.
There's a gate.
Why would it?
But there's no walled city.
Yeah. Right. I agree. Okay.
Love so I want to use them as much as possible.
Okay. So
Arc de Triomphes everywhere.
So that's way too substantial.
So we get the scene where Ilmare arrives. She's justifiably concerned because now there's like a gate and like at least a barricade up. That because there should be like only one pathway that leads up.
I think she should be maybe a little more like concerned, yes, but mostly confused. Like, like she really doesn't get it. Why have you put up a gate with a lock?
Okay.
Like the lock should be this huge ornate thing that is in the center that kind of locks them. And she's like, I just don't understand what this is. Yeah. I don't get it. And she's concerned because she's confused. Like, it's not a good thing that that Feanor is doing stuff that is confusing.
Yep.
Yeah. But
so how does she introduce herself other than saying, "Hi, I'm Ilmare"? Like, does she say, "I have a message for Feanor," or like, what does she say to whoever?
I mean, she should kind of announce her arrival in the style of like a royal page or something. I think.
Like a herald.
Yeah.
Would do.
Okay.
And Nerdinel orders the gates open again.
Right.
But this time, Feanor comes up behind her and intervenes. I think that maybe he shouldn't just tell her no, go away. I think that he should like have some.
No, they should have an altercation almost.
Well, what do you mean by altercation?
Like he should get really aggressive about it.
Okay. And loud.
Like he doesn't have to, not just loud, but like, invading personal space kind of thing. Not necessarily pushing or shoving, but like getting really, really. Like basically they trade like 5 to 10 sentences, and every time Feanor says something, he steps a little bit closer until he's like.
Well, how many sentences is she going to say before she just comes out and says Melkor is out and?
Yeah. That's the thing is if the whole point is she's not going to get to deliver her message, we probably need to keep it a little shorter so he can say his part of.
Well, basically he's gonna trade barbs with her. She comes up and says something related to like here you are, I have a message from the Valar, and he's like, oh, the Valar, let me tell you all about the Valar,
Right.
And she's like, well, okay, fine, but basically she responds to what he's saying in the most civil and diplomatic manner possible. Like she's trying to have a little debate with him about how his perspective on the Valar is wrong, and he's not getting it at all, and he just kicks her out before she actually says what she came to say.
But that means that she really can't say very much at all. Like he has to pretty much say, "I want nothing to do with you. I don't want to hear anything you have to say," and then close the door.
Well, I mean, like her, I would almost expect her to kind of be like, an angel in the Bible, where she's trying to get him to understand that his perspective is skewed, and that he needs to like they have a little debate about whether the Valar are good or evil, basically.
Nobody has that kind of reaction to an angel in the Bible.
Well, no, there are a couple of the angels ask leading questions, right? And then the person who hasn't figured out what it is responds, and then the angel.
You're thinking of Raphael in the Book of Tobit. Is that who you've got in mind?
I'm thinking of who?
Raphael in the Book of Tobit.
Tobit, maybe.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'm thinking that's probably the problem here, is you guys are thinking of different angels.
Well, okay, but my point is that even in those circumstances, the angel is still in control of the conversation. Where in this situation,
well, I mean that's what it is here too. It's just that he's a lot more openly hostile than anyone in the Bible is ever to a messenger of Yahweh.
Well, also he has to be in control of this conversation. Which means that occasionally, like, he needs to be interrupting her, essentially.
Yeah. No, I agree with that totally. Like, she doesn't get to finish most of her thoughts, if any.
Yeah. Like, she
says a hot button word that sets him off, and then he's like, oh, no, I don't want to hear this. Let me tell you how it really is.
Right.
It's like, I've been hearing this, for years, and I'm tired of it.
speaking of being tired, we got to take a break. So if you're watching this live, we'll be back in a minute. If you're watching this in the future with an RF modulator, which at this point is actually a thing of the past. If you're watching this in the future, definitely like and share the videos. If you like and want to share them, comment down below if we're getting this all wrong. We are, in fact, getting this all wrong, but it's not our fault. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. We'll be back in a minute.